Epic just released some shell maps into Fortnite Ballistic, and it has the player base quite divided. A lot of people are thinking that Epic Games is lazy, bringing another half-baked mode into the metaverse, kind of expecting players to just be okay with unfinished maps, and other people like the early development and feedback that they are taking into Fortnite Ballistic. Today, I'm going to give my thoughts on the matter, and of course, we're going to gather replies from both the Explore page, myself, and Fortnite themselves. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. Let me bring you over to this first initial post by Fortnite. You're part of shaping the future for Ballistic. We are giving you the ability to play early shell maps. On April 8th, jump in and let us know your thoughts. And of course, these maps have now been live for, I want to say it's been a few days. What am I thinking? It's April 8th. These maps have been live for a few days now. I played them. I'm ridiculously weird. Okay, I'm insanely weird. I kind of like the way that it looks because it's something that I'm not so used to playing on. I don't know how to describe the vibe that I'm getting when playing these maps, but obviously I am the weird one. This is one of those positions that I can see both sides of. I actually understand the people who are like, Epic Games, why are you giving us a unfinished mode, unfinished maps, why not drop the maps? But I also understand the other people, and I understand Epic Games if they don't want to put a ton of development into something that people won't like. You know what? We're going to figure out these corners, we're going to figure out these gadgets, we're going to figure out what you guys like. Give us your feedback. Here's the big thing for me. I'm willing to give this a chance. Of course, I like Ballistic in general, so I'm enjoying playing the map. I'm ready to play some new maps in Ballistic anyways because we've been playing the first one for quite a little while now, so I'm okay with the shell maps. But I get why people think that this is unacceptable. Now, here's where I will draw the line for me personally. If Epic Games takes forever to update these maps or does not take user feedback into consideration, because I feel like we could get a pretty good gauge on how people are feeling about this. Plus, just playing the maps, you know, like how most people should feel about the maps, whether it's a good map, the corners are good, things like that. Of course, there are always great updates that could come to Ballistic, but right now we are testing these maps. If Epic Games is on the ball, updating, they figure out, hey, we like these maps, we're going to update them, and they're going to bring new ones, and hey, here's some other shell maps for you to play around with, then I think this is a good thing, okay? But if this really is them just giving us a half-delivered mode, I don't necessarily have a problem with it because I still enjoy the game type of Fortnite Ballistic. I'm really enjoying playing it. Even on these shell maps, I'm enjoying myself playing it. But I would be a little bit disappointed. I'd be like, okay, Epic Games, maybe you think we're a little bit dumb. So for this right now, I'm personally not ready to judge. I'm not ready to judge because I'm still having fun on this map. I'm still having fun on playing Ballistic. I'm an absolute giant weirdo who enjoys the look of the shell map. But I even have people who like Ballistic in my personal life that really hate what Epic Games is doing, and it's understandable. You are literally playing on an unfinished map. There is one more thing that I really want to make it clear to some people. I don't really understand why it's not okay for Fortnite Ballistic to be in early access, but the original Fortnite Battle Royale game was, if I'm not mistaken, was the vast majority either that or the entirety of Chapter 1 in early access. For a very long time, there was little content, little updates to the map, and everyone seemed happy with it. Everybody was giving Epic Games feedback, everybody was active on social media. That's how Fortnite became huge. Epic Games was testing around, and they were adding things to see if people would like them. They're doing the same thing for Ballistic. They are trying to make Ballistic a new main mode in Fortnite. If it's an early access, actually developed game, that means that they believe in it, and that means they are going to be putting a ton of hard work and resources into it. Another thing that I don't understand, you know what, we'll get into that in just a second, but I think everybody needs to understand that Epic Games had Fortnite in early access for a very long time, and quite frankly, it's okay for them to have an early access game. I'm a big fan of, if you don't like it, don't play it. But on the other side of the coin, again, I do understand the people, and I still hate when people use this argument, but it holds true to this type of conversation. Epic Games is a multi-million-dollar company. I believe that they can afford to hire a few more team members or hire a brand new team to work on Ballistic, just go at it forever. And I'm sure they do have a Ballistic team, but give them more resources, give them more funding. I don't know what you need to do. Epic Games can absolutely afford it, especially if you're trying to make Fortnite Ballistic your mainstay. Let's go. Introduce better weapon wraps, let's introduce some weapon charms, let's introduce some first-person cosmetics, and a lot of people will just fund those people that you just hired. It seems simple to me. I always take the stance of, I'm not in the place of Epic Games. I don't want to sit here and act like, oh my god, I know so much about this idiotic company like so many people do, because I'm sure it's more difficult to say behind closed doors. I do not see why, though, they can't just hire more people, expand their teams. I don't get it, but maybe there's something that I'm not seeing from this end. Plus, the player base is accepting Ballistic right now. I know the player numbers are down. I know the player numbers aren't nearly what Battle Royale is, but I do believe in this mode personally. I'm having a ton of fun with it, and Ballistic has its own little niche fan base right now, and that's only going to grow with time. So, of course, it's not just about what I think. I wanted to ask in replies to myself, Fortnite, and this did end up hitting the Explore page to kind of gather what everybody felt about this. I ended up posting this over on X. A lot of people seem unhappy that this mode isn't finished and believe Epic should work harder on these modes. Others like the idea of playtesting. What do you think? I'll be making a video soon and I will include some replies. Thank you for your time, and thank you everybody who did reply. If you'd like to join the conversation, follow me over at X at Clen YouTube, or you can check the top of the description where the link tree is, or you can find the direct link to X in the description down below as well. Thank you so much for being here, by the way. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Let's get into what everybody had to say about this, okay? Cyan had this to say. The test ground thingy is simply Epic can't handle updating these modes, so that's simply an excuse to release half-finished things for the sake of hoping it somehow keeps players in new modes. There is no useful data you can gain through unfinished maps. That's the whole point. I could actually see, and this is coming from somebody who is very, very, like, pro, usually defends Epic Games. I could see that being the case for what Cyan said in the first part, but I disagree with there's no useful data you can gain through unfinished maps. You have, like, literally the shell of the map. You can get a feel of how it plays, you can get, and you don't need the entire map to be finished to get a gauge on how players like moving around within that map. So I do think that they could take away very useful information. I just think they need to make sure they're on the ball about that. CreeQ had this to say, I think this is a great way to test stuff. Let's take maps as an example. If Epic made a beautiful map but absolutely awful to play on, so that's where the feedback comes in. In my opinion, the whole early access thingy is for the better for this mode, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it too. I'm all for it too. They just need to take in the information, like we talked about with Cyan and we talked about a little bit before. They need to be on the ball, and they need to prove to us that this isn't just them giving us something that's half cooked up, okay? Dawson had this to say, needs. This game mode be legendary if they had at least 8 to 10 maps and a lobby pick. I completely agree with that, and I hope that's something that comes down the road. There's a lot of people who also suggested to have like some sort of block thing that they've had for the Fortnite Island. I still think that that should be a thing in Fortnite, is having the block, but could you imagine all of these amazing UEFN creators that we have if we had a contest like the block, but for ballistic maps? I'm almost sure that I've talked about this on the channel already, but I loved that about particularly Halo Reach, and I know we've seen this before, but I loved it in Halo Reach. Some of my favorite maps were Forge created. Pinnacle, Asylum, things like that. Asphalt, one of my favorite of all time. This really does have potential. I am a big, big believer in Ballistic. It is an early access. The game, I would like to see the game updated a little bit more often, but I'm sure that Epic Games will get a handle on it. Could you imagine we get to a point where they have 8 to 10 maps in a lobby pick? That'd be incredible. The Origin Nala had this to say, for a company like Epic Games, I find this absolutely ridiculous. They are giving us half-baked game modes that should be fully finished to have the full and best experience. This was an issue with the other modes because they felt unfinished and the experience wasn't enjoyable. I don't always agree with that when people say that. I think that Festival was as close to finished as you can get, really. But again, maybe it's just because it's my ignorance speaking, because I don't play a ton of Festival. I'm a very, very casual Fortnite Festival player. Lego, it was kind of like early access too, but I like the idea that you can have updates and crossovers and things like that as time goes on. And like I just said, Battle Royale was like that too, and look what it ended up being. It ended up being one of the greatest things in gaming history. But I do understand the critique. I completely understand the critique. For a company like Epic Games, like the Origin said, it's weird that they don't like just hire more people to cook up everything necessary that they need to cook it up. But hey, you know what? Like I said, if they are on the ball about this, if they're updating and constantly taking feedback, I am all for it, okay? Let's see had this to say, hey, more ballistic content, I'm happy. Very easy, I'm happy as well. I've been enjoying the new shell maps, okay? Apollo had this to say, I think this is the right way to go about it. Instead of them designing detailed maps that players might not even like, they're giving us the power to give feedback and our opinions to make the maps the best that they can be. Again, I don't want to keep repeating myself. Last time I'll say it, I agree with this. We just need to make sure that Epic Games is on the ball. But I don't know. I actually truthfully don't know if it is the right way to go about it. Because I understand the group of people, or like it's a big chunk of the player base, saying that Epic Games should just finish a map, release it. Sometimes it doesn't hit. That does happen in gaming. And I would imagine, like, obviously it would be a lot more hype to just get new maps, but I understand, like, maybe their team's small. I wish we could get into, like, a little bit of how Epic Games is thinking about this. But guys, we still have so many more takes to take a look at. Let me pause you on this video for just a second. As you might know, I have been advertising my supporter creator code with these videos. I am doing my very best, grinding on YouTube as hard as I possibly can. I want to be the sole provider for my family, and this code has been helping me so much, guys. Thank you to everybody who's been using it. If you do not have a supporter creator code that you're using in the item shop, I ask that you consider using my code Clen in the item shop. I'm trying to make these as quick as possible, but I really am just so thankful, and I want to yap about it, but you guys have heard it before. Thank you so much to everybody who is using the code and considering using the code. Let's get back into the video. Sir Rifty Dylan had this to say: while the idea of having community assist and building the mode with feedback, I do feel like this mode needed a bit more time in the oven. I like Ballistic, but it's very clear that Epic was very enthusiastic about all of this, so I will trust them for it. That's another thing that I agree with. I do trust Epic Games to succeed. I trust them in LEGO, I trust them in Festival, I trust them in Fortnite Ballistic. Epic Games definitely, and I know that a good chunk of the player base is going to disagree with this, they have done more great things for their game, and like way more great things for their game than they have like negative things for the game. So Epic Games is excited for Ballistic to the point where it's actually in early access. I trust them, I will be playing it, and I will be giving my feedback. But here's another question. I would love to have you guys comment down below what you think about this. What would you have liked to seen a little bit more for Ballistic? Would you have liked to see more maps? Is it gadgets, guns? Would you have liked them to just have more options for us at the moment? Because honestly, for me, I was personally very satisfied with what we've gotten at launch, and obviously it could be more, and I would have liked to see more, but I was still satisfied. Emmanuel had this to say: this, in my opinion, is the wake-up call for Epic to stop dropping half-baked modes, just for hype for every new chapter. This mode's got potential, but it's been 4 months, and now only they're putting out 2 shell maps, and they're not even finished. And this also confirms my theory that Epic's is stretched too thin right now. They've got too many modes, and it's tough keeping all of them updated with meaningful content. With even more modes leaking for later this year, it's only going to get worse. I do have faith that Epic Games is going to get a handle on it. I still am of the opinion, though, I don't understand why they can't just hire more people. $1 million company, and I hate saying that so much. It's used in such bad faith so many times, but I actually disagree with Emmanuel over here in saying that this might be a wake-up call for Epic Games. I think this has potential. I think this could work. They just need to update it quickly. I don't like the idea of waiting 4 months for an update. I don't think that's... I don't want to say it's unacceptable, but I was getting a little bit tired of that first initial map. But thankfully for somebody like me, I enjoy just the game mode as is. I enjoy like the search and destroy type aspect of a game, and I have fun just playing with my friends. So I'm not as invested, or I don't get burnt out like your typical player would. So this is what I'm talking about, where like I understand where everybody's coming from in this sense, okay? Let Kyle had this to say: to be honest, I like the unfinished look of the builds they have here. It gives that you're in a simulation look, if you will. It kind of does. I can't explain it either, and this is what I was trying to describe at the beginning of the video. I weirdly like it. Obviously, I do not like it nearly as much as a polished map. I'm somebody who is a big fan of artwork. Every single time there's a new map, I've been doing this in Marvel Rivals as well. I'm looking off into the distance. I don't understand how players can't do that, man. The artwork in this game is absolutely phenomenal. Off Medusa had this to say: I'm optimistic. I think it can have its ups and downs, but it could be a direction for the game. User feedback is important when it comes to making things. Overall, it could be a good funnel for players wanting to play. That's true. User feedback is absolutely important, especially if Epic Games wants this to be one of their core modes. Do you think that Epic Games wants this to succeed more than LEGO, more than Festival, more than obviously more than Rocket Racing? Because this is actually an early access development mode, and they are looking for feedback. I don't know, man. Very tough. Very tough to say. Eldorin Games had this to say: these people don't seem to remember that the first 2 years of Fortnite were in early access. How long did we go between Save the World content at the beginning? How long did Season 1 to 2 Battle Royale go before the first real map updates? That is very true. And was it the first 2 years of Fortnite? Because I remember it being a big thing where it's like, okay, Fortnite's actually at an early access. I'm like, I mean, I never really thought it was an early access, but it actually, like, technically was. Yeah, was it in Chapter 2 that they changed that? Oh no, that would have been Chapter 1, the first 2 years of Fortnite. I'm struggling to remember exactly when, but it was like an insanely long time into the game's length, but that's true. Why is it acceptable for OG Fortnite and all of these game modes that you loved, and it had very little content at the beginning? It was great, and Ballistic has that same potential. Let's continue on to Tumble40 and what they had to say over here. Responding to people saying that Epic isn't taking the mode seriously, I find this to be the complete opposite. Listening to player feedback, developer updates like this one, I'd rather they work with the community to make brilliant maps instead of releasing half-baked ones. You could argue, though, that what they are doing is half-baked. That's the problem, and this is why I understand the other side of the community on this one, guys. But I do disagree with the people saying Epic Games isn't taking the mode seriously. I'm just open to the idea that they might be like trying to skid by with doing as little as possible in this one. But I'm willing to be, I don't want to say proven wrong because I don't know what to think about this one, but prove my optimism correctly. You know, I'm waiting for Epic Games to do that, and I do have faith that they will do that at some point. But guys, let me stop you one more time because we still have many, many more opinions to take a look at. As you might know, I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. If you check out the link tree at the top of the description or the direct links in the description down below, you can find links to all of my other channels. We have Clenbat, UFC, MMA content, ClenClipsDaily, stream clips, funny gameplay moments, Clenema, movies, TV show, anime show reviews, movie tier lists, things like that. And finally, we have Clenday, which has been popping off lately, and I'm so thankful for. We got that monetized. Thank you so much, everybody. We take a look at various trending topics, random tier lists, things like that. It's pretty much the variety random channel, guys. If you are interested, we upload content daily on pretty well every channel. Thank you so much for listening and considering. Let's continue on to what Lucky Luke had to say. They made it very clear that this mode is still in early access. In my opinion, they should be able to do these kinds of things since that is the whole point of this. It is a great way to receive feedback, and it means they can still improve the map instead of releasing a bad one. But the problem is, I wouldn't mind them releasing a bad map. It looks finished. I could admire the artwork, and it'd be very, very difficult to make like a truly bad map in this mode. So I still would personally like them to drop better maps, unless, like I said, unless they're on the ball, updating quickly, taking in our feedback, finishing the maps. I would imagine the better way to go about it is just to just finish maps, drop it, just like they've been doing with Reload. But they, like Luke said, they did make it clear that this mode is in early access. And that just reminded me, another thing that I forgot to mention is we can't forget that this is a free game, a free experience. I think it is acceptable for Epic Games to kind of do what they want and upload these shell maps. If we were paying for Fortnite, if we were paying like Nintendo wage for something like this, then I would totally understand the outrage about getting unfinished things, okay? Titan Swan had this to say, Ballistic has a chance to be the best out of this game mode. Needs that special something to set it apart for the rest. I know it's not finished, but I really like this game mode. I really like it as well. I understand it's not finished, but something that I would like to see from them is the casual separate competitive from casual. I would love to see them experiment with maybe hit scan, maybe. I don't mind the bullet drop at all for, excuse me, the bullet travel time for this type of mode, but again, if they wanted to experiment with it, I'm okay with that. But why not have the Fortnite unique guns? I would love to see something like that. Things like the guided missile, things like that, right? Just put it in a casual mode, have a ranked mode. They are missing that Fortnite charm that people talk about. VO10 had this to say, why are they early? You are a multi-billion dollar company, make finished maps or don't make the mode. Again, I understand the take, I understand it, but that obviously is not what they were doing, and I have faith in Epic Games. I'm very optimistic about this mode, and I'm giving them the opportunity to prove any doubt that I have in my mind wrong. Fikenko had this to say, we've been mispronouncing some names today, I'm sorry guys. It's great that they're taking feedback, but honestly, shell maps look terrible. There literally ain't no textures. Like, at least make the walls with textures. I'd rather get a bad full map that can be changed later than this. I'm not hyped anymore for Ballistic. I am on the side where I'd rather get a full bad map, where we have the complete graphics, where everything is textured. I would prefer that, but it's not to the point where I'm like, okay, I've lost hype. But if you lost hype at Fortnite Ballistic, I completely understand. Maybe come back when we get a few finished maps. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Guys, I would love to know what you think about this down below in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching this video. Why don't you check out this video on screen right now. If you like Fortnite and you like the channel, YouTube thinks you will like this video the best, and I would love to have you over there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care.